Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
Let me ask you a very important question. Based on the current state of our economy, which includes a stock market heading south, inflation rates not seen since Jimmy Carter, bond values sinking faster than you can say Alan Greenspan, and finally, something no one is talking about, $30+ trillion in national debt that one day our politicians may try to repay from all those pre-tax 401k plans that have been yet to be taxed. So given all these factors that are certainly out of our control, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not confident at all in your financial future and 10 being very confident in it, how confident are you right now? Well, as we record this show on May 10th, 2022, if you're like the majority of savers I meet on a daily basis, my guess, your level of confidence in the future is closer to 1 than it is 10, which is why today I'm going to share with you 7 key principles for regaining confidence in your money so you can feel in more control of it, and how our split IRA concept is a better alternative for savers than the worn-out ways of Wall Street. So let's get started. Welcome, folks, to the WorryFree Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, confidence-building specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before I share these 7 keys for savers, let me introduce those in the WorryFree Retirement Studios today, helping to make this show possible. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. And finally, our associate producer, Miss Meek and Mild Mary Beth Combs. Okay, in case some of you are like me right now, confused as all get out as to why the cost of a good strip of bacon is going through the roof, how can we as savers put more confidence back into our financial future when everything we see and hear is out of our control? Well, surprisingly, the key to more confidence is figuring out how to better control the things we can control while doing our best to not fall victims to the things we cannot. In other words, learning a thing or two from the past rather than trying to predict the future always creates more confidence in the present. One of the reasons we savers continue to feel out of control is that we tend to forget the past. As the late great orator Mark Twain once said, while the past does not always repeat itself, it often rhymes. And as we record today's show on May 10th, 2022, the past is certainly rhyming for sure, as our nation's economy looks eerily similar to the days of 1979 when then President Jimmy Carter became so desperate over the high price of gasoline, inflation, and worldwide instability that instead of turning to his friends in Washington, he made a last-ditch effort to find solutions to our nation's problems by turning to Joe Lunchbox. You see, in 1979, President Carter did something no other president had ever done. Instead of inviting politicians and economists to Camp David, Carter instead recruited everyday citizens to attend a consumer summit of sorts at Camp David, where Joe Lunchbox was able to share ideas with President Carter on a whole host of ways Americans might regain confidence by putting the people in more control. Funny, as I researched a speech given by President Carter shortly after his town hall meeting of sorts, he got this feedback. One, received by the confidence of Americans people were looking for, came from this mayor of a small town in Mississippi who said the following: "The big shots are not the only ones who are important. Remember, you can't sell anything on Wall Street unless someone digs it up somewhere else first." That line of thinking about common sense approaches to money and everyday people working hard to make the world go round reminds me of a similar line of thinking by the late great motivational speaker and sales trainer, Mr. Zig Ziglar, who said, "Nothing in this old world happens until somebody sells something." The point being, whether it's an out-of-control, hyperinflation-filled economy in 2022 that looks eerily similar to the one President Carter presided over in 1979, You can certainly put this in your proverbial pipe and smoke on it. Whenever a saver loses confidence in his or her future, the feeling of being out of control will soon follow, which is why today we are going to set aside all the gloom and doom news currently surrounding your money and instead provide some hope in your future by focusing on the 7 key lessons I've learned in meeting with over 15,000 savers. Lessons you can put to work right now. So I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
And now it's time for the adventures of Stella, the Black Russian Terrier. You've been watching the adventures of Stella, the Black Russian Terrier.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. If given the choice between feeling confident and in control of your money as opposed to feeling less confident and thus out of control with it, I would venture to say that most of you watching this show today would say that right now your confidence is waning at best. As we record this show on May 10th, 2022, there appears to be very little control and little confidence America has in anything right now, which is why I thought I would provide some helpful ways you can restore more confidence in your money by taking control of the things you can control. Now, assuming you are a saver, retired, or nearing retirement, let's take a look at the 7 things you can do to create more confidence in tomorrow by putting you in more control today. The first thing I would say is stop chasing returns. And what I mean by this is sometimes many of you are tempted to keep chasing after these high-fly stock market returns, and what you find out in the end, it's very difficult to sustain those. So what I suggest savers do is, better yet than chasing returns, is attack cost. Deal with high interest rates, deal with high fees, try to minimize taxes. Do things you can do to protect your money and cut those costs, because whenever you save $1, that's real money you can take to the bank. Number 2, consider fixed annuities. Now, these can be either fixed interest annuities or fixed indexed annuities, and we'll be showing you a chart in a minute to understand the difference between the two and what percentages of those you might wish to have. Number 3, think and act like granddad. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, what granddad used to do, and he knew this intuitively, is he cut back on the things he really didn't need. Going out to eat all the time at expensive restaurants, maybe cutting back some of those $5 daily foo-foo drinks you've been drinking. But yeah, just being practical, and at times maybe cutting back on some of these things that are way too expensive. Oh, by the way, keeping in touch with Live Well, Die Broke, one thing you don't want to cut back on is that good old-fashioned bacon. Remember, life is too short to eat cheap bacon. Never forget that. All right, number 4, if you're going to gamble with your 401k, gamble responsibly. Look, folks, many of you are retired, nearing retirement, and you're coming to me, you were even thinking about retiring. Now, some of you are saying, gosh, Tony, my 401k is down, 20%. I had $500,000, now I got $400,000. I don't even know if I can retire. Well, again, it's okay to have some of your money in the stock market, but if you're a saver, retired or nearing retirement, you have to be very, very careful. We can help you think about how much you really want to gamble with. Number 5, consider another line of work. So take a look at this article, by the way, and see what's happening. This is really interesting. Look at the headline. Millions retired early during the pandemic. Many are now returning to work. New data shows. It says an estimated 1.5 million retirees over the past year have returned back to work. In fact, we have several clients who are retooling their retirement and or starting side businesses. In fact, our own Mary Beth Combs recently visited with one of our clients who literally has a lot of time on his hands. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Beth Thornton, and I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
My name is Sam Thornton. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and moved here in 1968.
I was going to JCC part-time and got a job at St. Mary's Elizabeth Hospital on the tray line and loved it. But I retired in 2019.
I always enjoyed what I did, and it's always been in a mechanical background, so it's only natural that I wound up doing something mechanical in retirement, I guess. Well, in the past, we had been through a couple of other companies, and
Yes, we
the first one that we
They were not good.
kind of had the impression the guy was like a used car salesman. And then the second company, we were just a very small speck. We were ready for a change, and it strictly from the TV commercials is how we found out about Tony. And I was concerned in retirement because I don't like to sit around, got to stay busy, and I honestly was a bit concerned about filling my time, but it has not been an issue. It seems about the time I retired that everybody found out, hey, this guy works on clocks, and they come out of the woodwork. Sometimes I come home and find them sitting on the back porch. So, well, it started out at the kitchen table, and kind of outgrew that pretty quick, and I think she got tired of me having to move clocks so we could eat supper. But when we did all the remodeling on our home, the first thing we did was finish the upstairs. What I do with the repairs and restorations, I do right upstairs in the shop, and metal polishing and all the repairs and soldering, welding, got a metal lathe, and so lucky you got a pretty nice shop.
But we both had hobbies that we enjoyed doing. So we knew that we would not be bored during retirement. I have been scrapbooking and card making and going to crafting events for over 20 years, and have a lot of friends that I am able to do this with.
Well, I think everybody has to have a passion for something. You know, you got to find something that you want to get up for in the morning. I think it'd probably be the number one piece of advice. And if you don't have anything, find a new skill.
Yes, learn to do something.
I'm one that believes that basically anybody can do anything they want to do if they want to do it bad enough. Find something you can be passionate about. So,
I agree.
All right, let's get back to the things we can control. Well, one of those is number 6, get a written game plan. Folks, most of you have none of your plans in writing. You've got statements, you've got investments, you've got annuities, you've got spreadsheets and all this stuff. That is not a game plan. A written game plan allows you and your advisor, hopefully us at Tony Walker Financial, to get on the same page so that we can easily monitor things, because you know why? We know things are going to change. So for goodness sakes, if you don't have a written game plan, contact us at Tony Walker Financial. Let's talk more about our written game plan and how it's helped so many savers get control of their finances. And finally, number 7, consider your piece of the pie. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you know, I like to think of retirement as really a piece of pie. You've got all of this money you've saved, and as you get near retirement, the slices of that pie have to change. So let's take a look now and kind of look at what the traditional Wall Street pie looks like and why this is a huge problem in 2022. Basically, this is called asset allocation or diversification. And what Wall Street has always done, and we've kind of practiced this too whenever we use our Charles Schwab platform, traditionally you had a mixture of stocks and bonds. Now, you could have different percentages of those, but the thinking was, hey, I've got my stocks for growth, and usually when those stocks go down, which eventually they always do, those bonds, which are supposedly safe, will go up. So stocks go up, bonds go down a little bit. Stocks go down, bonds go up. So it has a nice diversification. Well, guess what? Today, and I've never seen this in my 38 years of being in the financial trenches and dealing with investments, because both stocks and both bonds are currently both going down. Not a good thing, especially if you're in retirement, and not a good thing if you're dragging money out trying to live on it. So what did we do with the worry-free retirement process? Well, over the years, I've still used in our Charles Schwab platform stocks and bonds, but what we realized, there's too much risk, and bonds do not provide any real security because they're subject to both interest rate risk and, of course, stock market risk. So what do? Enter into the world of our piece of the pie, fixed annuities. And these come in two varieties. We can either do fixed interest annuities and or fixed indexed annuities. There's a lot of misconceptions about annuities, and quite frankly, let's go to this full screen, Aaron. You can go to our download section at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. I would highly recommend you download this booklet. It's called Annuities Made Easy. Folks, I've been doing annuities longer than most people could even spell them. I've personally written nearly $500 million of annuities, and I've worked with all types, all the way back in the 80s when I did variable annuities. I've done immediate, fixed interest, fixed indexed. And more importantly, at Tony Walker Financial, we're not just going to slap your money in an annuity and hope for the best and possibly get stuck in the wrong one. We're going to make sure that that annuity fits within the written game plan and is not, listen carefully, is not your only asset. So how does that work? Well, if we come back to the worry-free pie, what can happen is we might have bank products through our Charles Schwab platform. We might have some bonds, and of course, we might have some stocks, mutual funds, or ETFs. So folks, if you don't have something like this, my question is, why not? Why not now log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com for a free consultation and our 10-minute free fiduciary phone call? All you do is click on the Let's Get Started button and let us know, and we can talk more about your situation and see if you're ready for the worry-free piece of the pie to help you get control of your future. Well, when I come back, we've only got a few minutes remaining, but I want to show you exactly how this plays out with our split IRA and why this is so important for savers to use right now before it's too late. I'm Tony Walker. Going to get the whiteboard out. I'll be right back.
Now remember, when you roll over your money to us from your 401k, you get a free 15% bonus.
Free money? That sounds too good to be true.
No, there's no catch.
So, what are your fees?
No. Not fee, free.
What do you think?
I think we need a second opinion.
Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, trying to help you get a little more control over your finances. And that last number we just covered, number 7 on how to do that, is getting away from the Wall Street pie and moving over to what we call the split IRA concept at Tony Walker Financial. So last week we kind of covered how that worked and the mixture. Today I want to spend our remaining time literally showing you a case I worked on, taking the same $500,000 401k that we rolled over and meeting the goals and objectives of this particular saver. So in the essence of time, let's do our magic snap and flip this thing around. Here we go. All right, let's take a look at the split IRA in process. So in this example, again, we had someone that had $500,000 in a 401k. They were ready to do business with Tony Walker Financial. And what was it about this that prompted them to move forward? Well, they'd been in the old school of Wall Street, and they were tired of losing money in the stocks and bonds, and they knew they needed income, and worse yet, they were afraid if they kept doing it the Wall Street way, one day they were going to run out of money. So here's how we handled this. So in this case, and again, folks, the caveat here, this will be different from everybody else, okay? It's very specific. We have to determine your level of risk, so don't rush out or think this is what everybody's going to get. This is this one particular individual, actually was 65 years of age, single, all right? Going to go on and start Social Security, getting ready to retire, needed about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, wanted to do some traveling, etc., etc. So what we did, we said put a certain percentage over here in Charles Schwab. Now in this case, I elected to put about $150,000 with Schwab. Now again, what is the purpose of Schwab? Well, the Schwab gives us complete access to our money with complete liquidity. So this person, they probably wouldn't, but let's just say they needed all of that $150,000 lickety split. Well, they could get it out with Schwab if they're willing to pay the taxes with no penalties, all right? And then they can choose between 3 different portfolios if they want to be more conservative, moderate, or growth. One more caveat. Anytime you go to Schwab, folks, there is the chance of losing money. So even though we're dealing with this right now, people go, well, I've got a conservative portfolio, Tony. My portfolio's down. That's because the traditional mix of stocks and bonds as we record this show right now is down. But then here's where we're different. We took a short-term annuity, okay, a 3-year annuity, and then a long-term annuity of 10-year to diversify the need for the money. The short term is there in case we need more money in 3 years. See, many of you are rushing out. You're buying these long-term annuities. You're putting as much money as you can. You think you're getting a good deal because there's a bonus. Then later on, when you need money unexpectedly, i.e. inflation, right? Problems with whatever. I mean, people need money for all kinds of stuff they hadn't planned on. You're stuck in the wrong annuity. And then, of course, on the long-term annuity, that's what we're going to kick in down the road. That's our beloved mailbox money, okay? And that's what's going to make sure that this saver never runs out of money. So the split IRA with Tony Walker Financial, if you're a saver and you're sitting there saying, well, Tony, I don't mind having a little bit of risk or taking some risk, but I need more security in this thing. This whole stock and bond thing that is not working has to change. Well, we can help. So all you need to do to take advantage to find out more if this is suitable for your situation, just log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. That information will be confidentially sent to our offices, and we will contact you to arrange a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call to see how we can help. And if it warrants, I will personally, that's right, the owner of the company, be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Or if the internet's not convenient right now, just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, what does the Bible have to say about feeling out of control, and worse yet, this feeling of hopelessness? Well, it has a lot to say, but it does give us hope. Let me grab another cup of coffee. This is going to be a really good segment. You stay tuned. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. One of the worst outcomes of feeling out of control is the feeling of hopelessness that may soon follow. Take the recent suicide of award-winning singer Naomi Judd, a person whose fame and fortune should have provided her that wonderful feeling of being in control, yet apparently left her instead with the dreaded feeling of being hopeless. Prior to calling it quits, Miss Judd had this to say about her journey here on earth. My life was filled with interesting people, different scenery, new things to learn, and exhilarating events. Sounds like a pretty good life to me. So with all due respect, why would Miss Judd and an estimated 50,000 people in this country each year arrive at the same conclusion to end one's life? Now, before someone watching this show thinks I'm being insensitive to the issue of suicide, I'm not. I'm well aware of the devastating effects of mental illness and a lack of hope that it generates, as many in my family committed their lives to helping those suffering from this feeling of being out of control. My father, who ran a large mental health agency. A brother who for more than 35 years dedicated his life to others as a drug and alcohol counselor. And today, a son who works full-time as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. All understood the dire results of hopelessness brought about by mental illness. In fact, one of the reasons I pursued and received a degree in psychology back in 1983 was my intent on entering the mental health field as a counselor to those in need. I guess, in some ways, I've fulfilled that goal as I do my best to provide hope to savers in regards to their money and their retirement. So why would someone who appears to have the world by the tail, someone with a life apparently filled with vast amounts of pleasures and opportunities, lose hope in the future? Well, in my humble opinion, the root cause of this hopelessness is this. We expect so much of a world that in the end offers so little. You know, the richest, wisest man who ever walked the face of the earth, King Solomon, arrived at this same conclusion, where in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 17, after having the world by the tail, said this regarding the pursuit of happiness offered up by the world. So I hated life, for the work which had been done under the sun was grievous to me, because everything is futility and striving after wind. Some 3,000 years later, God's Word begins to rhyme a little bit as 1 Timothy 6:17 provides the same conclusion, where it says, "Instruct those who are rich in this present age not to be conceited or to fix their hope on the uncertainty of riches." So if the goal of the pursuit of things of the world leads to hopelessness, what can we who claim to be followers of Jesus Christ do to put more pep in our step and more joy in our hearts? Well, two things we can do. Take the advice of King Solomon as found in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 12 and 13, where he says this, "I know that there is nothing better for them," that's you and I, "than to rejoice and to do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks sees good in all his labor. It is the gift of God." Well, that sounds pretty easy enough to me, so let's turn to the second ray of hope as we finish the rest of the verse found in 1 Timothy 6:17, providing the ultimate path of enjoyment during this lifetime. Let's read it again. Instruct those who are rich in this present world not to be conceited or fix their hope on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly supplies us with all things to enjoy. You see how the history of God's love for us is starting to repeat itself? You know, the way to enjoy life is not found in the things of the world, but in the things of God. You want to have more hope? Place your hope in Him. Want to be more confident in your future? Place your confidence in Him. And finally, you want to feel more control? Then turn over more control to Him. You do that, my friend, and I assure you that your confidence and your feeling of more control will soon return, and you can take that to the bank. Well, speaking of hope and confidence in your financial future and enjoying the fruits of your labor before it's too late, how confident are you right now that the plans you have in place will last as long as you do? Well, assuming you have an advisor, how confident are you that he or she is there for you over the long haul, not just to sell you something only to never be heard from again? And assuming you're out there right now going it alone with no guide to assist you, I got to ask you, how's that going for you? Well, if you're like so many of the savers I meet on a daily basis, you're probably feeling a little less confident than ever before, which is why I'm offering to talk with you at no cost or obligation. It's called the 10-minute free fiduciary phone call. And here's how simple it is to find out more about our services at Tony Walker Financial. First, you can just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. Or if you like, guess what? You can just call the toll-free number on your screen and we'll be happy to talk to you about your personal situation. And of course, if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you in person at either our Louisville, Lexington, or Bowling Green, Kentucky offices. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, guess what? We got a really cool show planned for you next week, and it's called There Are No Stupid Questions. And I think the title sums it up really well in terms of how we're supposed to deal with a know-it-all financial world that doesn't know the hearts and minds of savers. But you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.